All right, thanks everybody. I saw on the agenda that the title that they sent in, I did not send the title in. I was voluntold to come down here and present, and the title is a little bit how do I want to say it, bland. Um, the project that we're working on is related to 811 calling. So the idea is that we're trying to put together a map that's going to pull in all of the facility operators' data into one spot to be able to push back out for tickets. Right now, they only worry about the polygon of the request area. So when somebody requests a ticket in a particular area, all they're worried and tracking on everything on the tickets is just the polygon. What we're going to be working on is actually pushing the feature data out. So the idea is if an engineering company wanted to go and grab a ticket for engineering purposes, they'd actually have the data come back into their system off of the ticket associated data. So it's a Minnesota project. We've been kind of screwing around with it for a couple of years now, and the idea here is that we're to the point now where we've gotten past a demo. So right now, this is a collaborative effort. It's a public-private partnership. Gopher State One Call is our 811 operator in the state of Minnesota. Barbara Cedarberg is the operational control. And then on the state side, there's Vice Chair Steve Swayze. He's administrative kind of control of the project as well. So between those two groups there, Steve's on the Emergency Preparedness Committee at the state. So he's up at the state level and runs the Emergency Preparedness Committee, or EPC. And between these two folks here, they're the ones that are kind of pushing this project along. I'm just a lowly project manager. So the name actually of the project has gone under a couple of different names right now. Currently, we're under something called MUMP, which is the Minnesota Underground Mapping Project. That came out of CGA. They did a case study on our project, and that's the name that they liked. It started out as something called UUMP, but that didn't have any kind of traction. So, and then the in between those two, we had this Minnesota UMP name. So these slides are a little muddled as a result. So the idea here is we're working on the idea of going back and getting the best data that we can from each one of the facility operators. So the intent here is to go right back to the facility operator and grab their data. We're building a system called Fusion View. That's the engine that we're using to merge all of these data sets together to be able to present them out as a enhancement to the current ticketing system. We're not trying to mess with any of the ticketing management aspects that they've already got in place. We just want to enhance it with this new capabilities that we're adding in. So the idea here is best way I can explain it is that you're going to get that newest data from each one of these facility operators. We only have to set up the connections to the services for each one of these operators once. So the idea here is that eventually we're going to actually probably be able to automate the process and make it into a self-service kind of approach. So a facility operator can join our effort and self-sign up and do their connections and build that all into the system all on their own. They'll be able to just sign up, and then once they're signed up and they can connect up their services based on a little form that we can put together to automate the whole connection process. So we're just starting to kind of design that aspect right now. As I mentioned a couple slides ago, CGA actually did a next practices case study of our project. So you can do a search under, I think it's called the MUMP project, Minnesota. Those two words will probably get you there. And you'll see the case study. It actually does a really good description. It's like 3 or 4 pages long of our project and kind of its origins. The bigger kind of focus that they wanted, the reason that the project kind of originated, I guess is a better way of saying it, is to kind of get past a lot of these hits that we're getting. Right now, the state of Minnesota at peak periods during the year, or during the day actually, we're still kind of up there right now. I think we're getting 7,000 tickets a day. So having a system that can manage that many tickets per day is, so it sounded daunting when we started. It's not as big a deal now. We've done a lot of load testing and all that kind of stuff, so we're confident that we're going to be able to handle that. But on average, during the construction season, we're hitting right around 4,500, 5,000 requests a day. So we actually this spring had the largest, or the largest number per month was earlier in the spring here that they've ever had. And the numbers actually keep going up for request numbers. So they're up to around, they were approaching 8,000 in one month. What you see here is kind of that additional stuff that we're talking about, pulling the data in from the different types of, or different facility operators. I don't know what the environment is around here, but a lot of the facility operators don't like sharing their data. And some of the pieces that we had to worry about is especially at the feature level, which is what we're trying to do. So the idea here is that we're going to actually take that polygon, the black polygon is the actual ticket request polygon that was put into the original GSOC ticket system. And that polygon is sent over into the Fusion View engine, and then we apply a 100-foot buffer. It's just a standard that we're going to do for all tickets. And then we use that 100-foot buffer, that's what the dashed line represents. That dashed line is where we're going to clip the data off that we pull off of their system. The data that goes into the Fusion View engine that we're talking about here only stays in the system from the begin date and end date, which comes over with the GSOC ticket. So the ticketing system is the thing that governs how long the data is kept in the Fusion View system. And we always clip all of that data back to that particular dash polygon. That's the only data that's stored in the system. At the end of the life of the ticket, the data is expunged from Fusion View. What you're looking at here is an administrative interface. This isn't intended for the end user. What I'm showing you here is our demo. We've actually gotten through a whole functioning demo. We're in transition from the demo now to our kind of our alpha service. We're working with a couple of big facility operators right now as pioneer partners. They're going to be setting up their particular servers and connecting them up to Fusion View. So the idea is we'll just keep adding to this over time. We're doing a really slow kind of rollout on this. We're not shooting for any kind of particular date to be done. The idea here is that as the interest is, as long as the interest is there, we're going to keep working on it. So the idea here is that we'll keep adding different facility operators as we go. So what you're seeing here is because you're looking at an administrative interface, it's showing you all the tickets at once. On the GSOC side, when you go and actually make the ticket request, you're only going to see one ticket's worth of data. But from this administrative interface, this is basically to check that everything is working correctly. It's clipping back to the right boundaries, all those kinds of things. And then you can actually go into the system itself and click on a spot in the map. There's actually a gray dot in the middle there where there was a pick made. And on the left there, you'll see that there's a list of different reports that are available, and one for each one of the particular boundaries there on the map that overlap the point that was clicked. Before I get into the details of our new stuff, I wanted to run through real quickly of how the GSOC ticketing system works now. So this is actually a live or a functioning ticket from the GSOC system before we're adding all of this feature data. This header information here is where you get that begin, end date information that actually comes over into the Fusion View as they've got a push mechanism that they're pushing the data into our system with. And they're sending basically this header information related to that ticket. So it's got the polygon in it, the begin date, end date, who requested it, those kinds of things. And then this middle section actually tells us which facility operators, assuming we have a connection to their services, we have to go and query their services for this particular ticket. So this list of operators are the different people that potentially have features in that polygon that the GSOC ticket was requesting on. And then the bottom part here, this is where I was going in the initial conversation. This is all the mapping that they do on the existing system right now. They're just worried about the polygon, how they're managing which facility operators have something in that particular area. This is kind of the GSOC ticketing system as it exists now. Jumping back over into the Fusion View system, we got another administrative view over there on the right side, and everything on the left there is a report that is tied to one of those particular ticket requests. Now, don't get stuck on the way that the report looks now. All of this was put together as a demo and really just set up so that we could make sure that we could move the data back and forth in an automated fashion. We're actually building a new system right now that's going to be mobile-centric. You'll be able to run it on a phone, following map, layer control right on top of an edge-to-edge map. That's what we're just starting up right now. But what you're seeing here is the fact that we can manage the data as it's coming back out of the Fusion View engine, and everything behind the scenes is on the Fusion View side is API driven, so you can connect it up into any system that you need to. You don't have to do it and kind of set it up the way that we're setting it up. You can use any of the services that are coming out, like a report service, because it can come out as a JSON chunk or an HTML chunk. However you need the data to come back out, the API can be configured for that. So we're using the APWA color coding, same stuff you'd use to, colors you'd use to spray, but that's how we're merging the data into the different groups for publishing back out. So the APWA separation, we're not really worried specifically about who owns what, although that information will be in there as well. But we're just trying to show people that there's something there and what type of thing it is. So we're using APWA designations as our merging groups that we publish the data out. So as you cycle through the data that you see there, each one of these maps is independently controllable, and they're segregating all the information up by that APWA. The reason there's only 4 slots there is there were only 4 classifications that had data in that particular ticket. The new system that we're building will actually have a blank spot saying no data found or something along those lines. High-level view of how the Fusion View engine works. So we've got in the upper left there is the Gopher State One Call system, our 811 system, and that's where the request will start. So the request will come over from that system, and it sends that data that I was talking about into the Fusion View engine, which is in the center top here. The Fusion View engine will take that information and actually log it. So we take the ticket, the boundary, the begin, end date, all that kind of stuff, and we actually make a record in the database before we even go out and grab anything. We're using this for logging and analytics purposes for long-term kind of stuff like that. But once it's got that record all created, and in Minnesota, the rules are that we don't have to necessarily have all of this data available for 2 days. So they have enough time to go out and actually do the location out in the field. So we could go out and kind of slowly collect this data. We don't have to go and get it immediately. Now, our system is probably going to be able to manage it in probably about an hour or so, realistically for most tickets. But we're not under any really big time crunch to actually be able to have all that data in the Fusion View system immediately. So once the data is in Fusion View for the ticket request, then it'll go out into all these different facility operators that we have connections to behind the scenes and grab their data individually and pull it all back together, and then run that back into the Fusion View system itself. And then the data is merged, and I'll show you the merge schema that we're using for that, or a sample of it. And that data is split up into those 7 categories that we've come up with. Maybe there might be 8 now of data that is split out by APWA, and we got a couple other ones that we've come up with as we've been moving through things. And then the data is actually set up so that it can be, after that merging process, it can be sent back to whoever requested it. So obviously a chunk goes back into the GSOC system because that's going to be managing all of the end tickets. So it'll be bound onto that ticket itself. But on the bottom there, you can see that those are the different types potentially of the requests that we're going to be getting. We're concentrating on the engineering ones first, mostly because the engineering groups are they have a good handle on working with GIS data to begin with, so it's going to be easier to work with them. So we're going to work on the engineering teams first. The locate team is probably going to be the next thing that we're going to hit, because we've got a facility in the Fusion View engine to actually take information up out of the field. So a lot of the new equipment that you can go out and locate with actually is giving you better data out in the field than you would probably have in your record center. So the idea is that we'll be able to pull that data up and even pass it back to the data owners if we need to. We've gotten a few endorsements here, but I don't think that really means too much down here because most of them are Minnesota. But there's a few groups that have been watching what we're doing, and kind of paying fairly close attention. We've also got some partners. The Canadian Underground Infrastructure Register, very similar effort to ours. They're about a year to 18 months behind us. They found out about us about a year in, and they're starting to come over. I think they're going to probably leverage a lot of the work that we're doing and do some very similar things. Their rules are slightly different from the stuff that we've got in Minnesota to deal with, but the mechanics of what we're doing, I think they're very interested in. Next steps, we're past developing that pilot system. We've already got that done. We're kind of in this mode of building the alpha version of it right now, so a real functional model that we can tune. And then we've got the resources for the engineering planning side kind of coming on, that engineering request type of ticket first. And then we're obviously going to improve the map visualizations. Some of the stuff that we had to worry about on the styling of the maps is how do we handle accuracy of locations. So we've got a couple of tests that we're going to do, but it's going to be along the lines of probably doing a drop shadow of some sort behind the particular features, maybe with an offset dash line. But the information can come from the facility operator's database, or we could use some kind of standard offset. But as you zoom in at an intersection level, which is where a lot of these kinds of information is used, you have to have fairly detailed offsets of, we think this is where it is, but it could be this far left, right, all that kind of stuff. Right now we're working with just a 2D mapping systems because that's what everybody has, but we are really thinking 3D. I've got real recently in the last 4 or 5 years really into the LiDAR side of things, and I've got a cataloging system that works online for LiDAR as well. So I think as the tools become available out in the field for actually capturing where things are built, for example, you can take an iPhone now and just walk down a trench and get a 3D model of it immediately. I know this because I've done it already. The hard part is managing the data on the back end. So that's the kind of stuff that we're probably going to be doing in the next year. So I don't think you really need to get into too much of the details of kind of our deliverables and where we're going here. But long term here, we've recently gotten into some funding. I think we're pretty good right now for about a year, maybe 18 months of funding right now. But you know, anybody that's interested in kind of this approach to things, and you know, has an interest in maybe participating either in helping us with the actual project, we've got 4 or 5 different groups. There's a legal group, locate group, data management group, which is my side of it, and then there's an outreach group, all associated with this project. So we've got all of these different groups that are handling different aspects of the project, and we've been going at it for a couple of years now. Early on, we got into a lot of discussion related to people not wanting to share and how we were going to get over that hump. We've gotten through a bunch of interviews with the facility operators as well as 2 different companies for locating, and the aspect of, you know, kind of protecting their data didn't really come up as much as we thought it was going to, which was surprising. We actually had to worry about it more on the locating side because they have to worry about contracts with each one of their facility operators. But the facility operators themselves, once they saw how we were working things, they were like, they didn't think this was as big a deal as maybe upper management might. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. But I think it might be easier for us to get through that roadblock than I thought it was going to be. Like I said, we got this legal group. They're actually putting together agreements that we can use between the facility operators and potential end users. This feature data, they don't want it replicated and pushed out there and treated as gospel kind of thing. This is really just for underground locating and managing this 811 ticketing stuff. And then our next steps kind of moving forward is we're actively building an advisory committee right now. So if anybody is interested in any one of those groups that I talked about and participating in the project, we did quite a bit of research before we got going. There's not really anybody doing this at kind of this state level. There's a few little groups here and there that might be doing it at a county level or municipal level, but when you get it to state level, it starts to get a little bit, it's rougher to pull everything together. I'm not getting into the details about the different kinds of things that you have to worry about for data connections. Not everybody's got an Esri server, for example. Some people may have documents. So the Fusion View Engine is able to handle those kinds of things. If you've got a municipality that can scan a file and send it up as part of the ticketing process, Fusion View Engine will be able to handle that as well. I do have a little bit of a demo here, but let me see if I can get it up here. So this is our demo project that we put together, and it's just in a little spot inside of Minnesota called Glencoe. And where am I at on time here? Okay. And the idea here is that, you've got this data available just in this particular area, and we can turn on the tickets layer. Remember, this is our demo application. This is you can see that the different kinds of tickets. Now, there's no ticket on this particular map that's older than 2 weeks. Yeah. Did it die? I think it died. Yeah, I think so. I think it was running all over lunch, so. Did that do it? There we go. So the polygons that you see there are all the different tickets that are coming in from the GSOC system. And that's a live connection right now. So as we're moving the map around, the information that's popping up in the map there is actually data that's in the Fusion View engine that has been collected from the GSOC ticketing side. So as you can look in this Glencoe area here and look at the tickets that are available, I showed you that idea that you can go and click on a particular spot. There's the reports that are available. This is actually running kind of slow, so I don't know how well this is going to work. But the idea here is that this top map is independent, or kind of the master controller, but you can also zoom each of the other maps individually. But again, this was really just the mechanics. We were just trying to make sure that we could make the data run back and forth. I'm not going to stress this piece of it. This is actually like almost on its way out. I would be surprised if it's up like a week from now, because we're getting ready to replace it. So that's it. Any questions? Yeah. Whoa.
The tickets refer to call into the system
Mm-hmm.
to report potential digging activity.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
So when you're talking about organizations that are looking at this technology and how it's buying, is there anybody from the federal government or PHMSA looking at this at all?
We haven't. I don't want to say no. I don't want to say no to that, because we actually had forestry look at it. But they were looking. We started out with another conversation, and it leaked over into this. So there's obviously customers out there for that kind of stuff, but we don't have anything formal going right now. I would stress to everybody too to keep an open mind about the mechanics of how this works. The data sharing aspect can be used in a lot of other ways. We were actually approached by a timber company trying to figure out how they could collect private timber on privately owned lands, which is fairly hard, but they want to go out and promote the fact that you can sign up on a web form, draw in, here's my polygon of timber, and then when they have a lumber producer going out in a particular area, they'll be able to have this here, all of these, form follows function, smaller area, everybody gets their stuff done at the same time kind of thing. And in Minnesota, 44% of the timber in Minnesota is owned by is in private hands. It's not public land, so which is a lot of the stuff that's harvested.
You said that, I think it was about a ticket, you said that once the ticket's resolved, that the data is removed.
Mm-hmm.
What prompted that decision?
That was actually us in the beginning thinking that we would probably have to do that because of the way that people kind of hold on to their data, and that it was going to be a problem. The Fusion View system can actually take a whole data set in. One of our foundation partners right now has a big data set for the coverage of the whole state, and it's one of the state departments that we're working with, and they were willing to give us their whole data set. But our bigger deal is we want to get back to the source data. So if it's being updated, and this data is updated every day, we'd rather go to their server and grab the data. but we can, in the Fusion View system, we can pull their whole data set in. They wanted to like update it every 3 months or something like that. And we're like, well, that's okay, but we'd prefer to get this other piece working. And they've already got the services available. So we're working through that.
Is there any special handling in case of incident?
Yes, there's a ticket type. I didn't have it in the slides, but there's a ticket type called an emergency call. There's also another one called a meet call, where you can actually go out and meet on site. So there's other ticketing things that are in there, but they didn't really play into the data side of it as much as everything I explained.
Yeah, comment on a question, so the blueprint for the future slide you have there,
Mhm.
especially the augmented reality.
Yep.
Love to have you come back in a couple of years and provide an update, kind of where you're at, and how that's working out.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of data organization stuff. I'm not exactly sure how much traction I'm getting. I'm the one that pushes that side of it, so you can think of me as the guy that's pushing the envelope. But I think it's doable. So, thank you.